Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
It's 8:07 on this Wednesday morning, 8th day of October. Thanks for tuning into O'Connor and Company and being part of our daily conversation. Get you started the right way as you head out to wherever you're going. Or by the way, if you're just staying home. Either way, I hope you have a better day than Katie Porter is going to have today. Or Jay Jones. Coming up in 30 minutes, Ambassador Ric Grenell, president of the Kennedy Center. We're going to talk all things Stuttgart. That's coming up. Why you laugh when I say Stuttgart? That's the correct. I'm saying it right. It's the Stuttgart Ballet. It's a red carpet, a black tie, and very high-end cultural stuff going on. I'm going to stay home and watch football. It's Larry O'Connor with Julie Gunlock. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning.
Joining us right now, a fine investigative reporter over at the Daily Wire. He is Luke Rosiak, author of Race to the Bottom, Uncovering the Secret Forces Destroying American Public Education. And he used our area, Northern Virginia, as sort of the basis of the book, understandably. Luke, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
You've got a lot of stories that you've been covering lately that I want to follow up on with you and get some a deep dive in. But I want to start with this story from the Sunday in Washington, D.C., where a man with explosives was arrested outside of what's called the Red Mass at St. Matthew's. And he had, over 200 explosives. And this is on a day that everyone knew the Supreme Court justices, the Catholic Supreme Court justices, would be attending Mass as they do almost every year. What do we know about this person? Do we have evidence that it was politically motivated, or is this just your typical crazy person with 200 explosives in D.C.?
Well, Louis Jerry was arrested. Police filed paperwork on Monday saying he had a 9-page manifesto that, quote, revealed his significant animosity towards the Catholic Church, members of the Jewish faith, members of SCOTUS, and ICE. Kind of typical left-wing targets. And, this is the Red Mass, as you mentioned. And I was looking at old pictures, and leftists actually protest the church in previous years saying, get Kavanaugh, stop Kavanaugh, when he was going through the smears about being a gang rapist. It went from protesting at a church to now trying to blow up half the Supreme Court at a church.
Luke, does this guy have a past? Has he been arrested before, or has he tried to attack any other Supreme Court justices?
Yeah, he was in jail for a year from August of 22 to 23 for indecent exposure in Arizona.
Okay. And
all right, but he's made his way to D.C.
Wow.
Luke, of course, this comes just days after the sentencing of the man who had a plot to kidnap and assassinate Justice Brett Kavanaugh, as well as his wife and children. And that sentencing raised a lot of eyebrows. You were in the courtroom, weren't you, as this man who now claims to be a woman got a pretty light sentence?
Yeah, I was there, and the prosecutors kept saying to the judge, you needed to go with the sentence being recommended by the U.S. Sentencing Commission's standard guidelines, which were 30 years to life. And the reason is because we need to establish the deterrent. We don't want other people to think this is no big deal, I can get away with attacking Supreme Court justices as well. And the judge, Deborah Boardman, who's a Biden appointee, said, well, I'm going to do a 22-year downward departure from sentencing guidelines and give a sentence of only 8 years. And I was just so shocked to know that 2 days later, you've got a guy with 200 bombs, allegedly, who's at this event that, in last year was attended by Amy Barrett and Justice Roberts and Kavanaugh. So poor Kavanaugh's gone through a lot, and
Gosh.
in court, I mean, his mom and his wife were there. His mom was wearing sunglasses because she was obviously so emotional by the way, due to the way that the judge was basically treating the person who tried to kill Kavanaugh as the victim in court, and they basically got up and laughed the second the judge issued this shockingly lenient sentence.
Just awful. Luke, sorry, Larry, but real quick, Luke, what kind of security do these justices have?
Well, they have, the U.S. Marshals guarding them. And when Nicholas Roski, the guy who now claims to be Sophie Roski, traveled from California to Justice Kavanaugh's house in Chevy Chase, basically the prosecutors were, he did call the police and turn himself in. He decided, he had a change of heart and decided not to go through with it. So that was definitely a mitigating factor. The prosecutors argued that he basically saw that this house was well protected by U.S. Marshals, and that's what caused him to be like, I'm not going to be just to basically freak out. His attorneys argued that he just had a change of heart because he realized that, shockingly, conservatives are human beings and they have families and they have normal people that live in normal neighborhoods. But yes, it was a very, basically instead of the judge focusing on, I would say the judge spent at least as much time on the transgender identity of Nicholas Roski as she did on the fact that he did call the police. He didn't go through with it, and he did turn himself in. And I thought that was very strange because the latter seems to be a better mitigating factor.
Luke Rosiak's our guest, investigative reporter at Daily Wire. And, Luke, we've been covering quite a bit of this story, or talking about the story of Ian Roberts, the charlatan who lied his way into the country, stayed in the country, became a principal in Maryland, and then ended up the superintendent of schools in Des Moines, all with an open deportation order with past arrests and crimes involving weapons. And no background check ever picked up any of this, if a background check was ever done. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. You've been covering a lot of these academics, a lot of these people with PhDs, and you found another one here in the University of Maryland who is obviously guilty of like the most obvious plagiarism here. This is University of Maryland Eastern Shore President Heidi Anderson. Tell me what you've learned here and how ubiquitous is this? Because it sounds like every day we're seeing a story like this.
Yeah, I never drew that analogy with the fake superintendent in Des Moines, but that's true. I mean, they're both frauds who got their jobs under false pretenses. Of course, we had a year ago, I found that the president of College Park is a plagiarist. Nothing has been done.
Right, I remember.
He's still under investigation. Yeah. And so now we have Heidi Anderson, who's president of this other University of Maryland campus on Eastern Shore. And she did her, she earned her PhD with this paper about how computers could be used in pharmacy education. Turns out she just took it from somebody else's paper about how computers could be used in nursing education, basically crossed out the word nursing and changed it to pharmacy. And it just goes on and on with just like thousands of words copied from people that are never mentioned in the paper. It's just, it is the most inexcusable academic crime, basically. And at this point, if the University of Maryland doesn't take action, they've got two plagiarists in charge of their campuses. It really undermines the credibility of the entire system if they don't take dramatic action very quickly on this.
Yeah, I mean, reporters could have their entire beat looking into the academic credentials and the dissertations and writings of these PhD academics at our major colleges and universities, and they'd have a full-time job exposing all of this, it appears. Luke Rosiak is scratching the surface there and doing a great job, as always, at Daily Wire. Thank you, Luke. Great talking with you.
Thanks for having me.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Your next $1,000 could be one text away. It's 5K a day on WMAL.
And we've got an update on the Jay Jones situation. As we mentioned a little earlier, he has canceled a campaign event, a fundraising event, a private event, by the way. I don't know. I mean, it's got to be bad if you're canceling a private event in someone's home to raise money. And Nick Minnock of WJLA was just reporting that he is reaching out to many Democrat elected officials, imploring them to stick with him and to endorse him and say something publicly. As Nick pointed out, if at this point, Tim Kaine or Mark Warner or Abigail Spanberger or any other Virginia politician, if now they come forward and say Jay Jones should step out of the race or I withdraw my support for Jay Jones, it is so transparently political at this point.
Yes. And the next question, what took you so long? What took you so long?
That's right.
That needs to be the next question.
That's right. The only thing that has changed in this story is them licking their finger and putting it up in the wind and seeing that it's blowing in the wrong direction.
The
right?
only thing
if
that
this
changed
was based
is the
on
money drying up. Yep.
That's right. Or the polls coming in. Oh, let's pull it first and then we'll decide. No, if it was based on principles and values, they would have condemned it immediately.
And the Republicans need to not let this go. They need to keep hammering the fact that they wanted us dead. They wanted children dead.
Right.
They need to keep hammering.
Well, especially the day that we're learning the report of a guy trying to blow up Supreme Court justices as they attended church. And need I remind you, a couple of weeks after Charlie Kirk got an assassin's bullet in his head, just as Jay Jones suggested Todd Gilbert, the former Speaker of the House in Virginia, should have gotten. It's disgusting. Meanwhile, Brady PAC. Now, Brady PAC is the political action committee that is for gun control. They're an anti-Second Amendment. I don't agree with them. I don't stand with them. However, I want to point out their integrity. The second this story broke, it took them, I think, 12 hours, and they withdrew their endorsement from Jay Jones. They said, "I'm sorry." They're like, "We stand for gun control."
Yeah, and I'm sure they did their due diligence. I'm sure they heard from him. I'm sure they talked to some people, but it was quick. It was clear that they made a decision quickly.
Yeah, and there's no way that we want our values, our brand, our good name associated with, and we're against gun, we're for gun control, and here's a guy saying put 2 bullets in the head of a politician. I wish we could say the same for every town for gun safety.
Shannon Watts.
They gave $200,000 to Jay Jones, and they have not said one word, Julie Gunlock, not a single syllable.
But they have taken some action, Larry. They scrubbed Jay Jones from their website, and he did the same, no doubt, at the request of every town. So they're pretending that there's no word on if that $200,000 was returned. I doubt it. But they're trying to act like they've never had any association with him. Not going to fly. We're going to remind people.
Right. No, exactly. They're trying to disappear it. They're trying to pretend like it's not there and make believe it never happened. But no, unless you put out a public statement and actually withdrawing your support, none of it matters. In fact, he's still spending your $200,000 there. Every town for gun safety, USA. Unbelievable. Meanwhile, Jason Miyares is doing the circuit. He's doing media. He was on our program yesterday. He's got some really effective ads that are out there that I think really make a huge impact. He did Glenn Beck's show yesterday. It is a national story. It deserves to be a national story. And we'll see whether he makes it through the weekend. I mean,
look, this proves exactly what we have thought for, decades. There is a segment of the Democrat Party, and it's growing, that is violent and does wish horrible things on their political opponents. And they don't want you to be able to defend yourself. That's why they want to take your guns. But you sure as heck bet they'll keep theirs. That is exactly what's playing out here.
By the way, this story hit on Friday. There was a small mention of it on Meet the Press on Sunday, but only because the Republican guest and analyst brought it up independently during the roundtable conversation. Otherwise, Kristen Welker would never have covered this story. As of yesterday, Media Research Center, they're the best at this. Media Research Center checked all of the news reports from NBC, ABC, CBS, and PBS on the Jay Jones story. just to further validate why you come here to this program for your news, listen to this. NBC News, 63 seconds, as I just told you. ABC News, nothing.
Nothing.
CBS News, nothing. PBS, nothing. They ignore it.
Yes, and just a really quick shout out to Mark Short. That he was Pence's former chief of staff in the White House. Yeah. Mark Short is the one who brought that up on NBC. He had a forceful, powerful statement about it, and good for him. Yeah. They cut him off.
Thank you for that. I had forgotten it was Mark Short. I knew that it was the Republican analyst, but I forgot it was Mark Short. Yes, good on you, Mark. It is 8:24.
Oh, I'm so excited. Coming up next, we're going to be talking to President of the Kennedy Center, Ambassador Ric Grenell. We love him. We're going to talk to him about, let me see if I can do this as good as Larry, the Stuttgart Ballet. Keep it here. It's 8:30.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
8:37 on O'Connor and Company as we get you going to work or school or whatever your day has in store for you. Thanks for letting us be a part of your morning routine. Julie Gunlock is with us this morning. Julie, we have this weird position here on this program, Waking Up Washington, D.C., because we're talking about politics. We are conservatives. That puts us sort of on the out sometimes in D.C., let's face it. But we love this town. We really do. I mean, as much as we...
Yeah. No, are you kidding?
Much as we criticize Washington, we love Washington, D.C.,
That's right.
And we love the fact that the Kennedy Center has been so welcoming and so open in sort of reimagining their brand, their position in our community, and their role, their mission to bring the finest of the world's performing arts right here to our town and opening up their doors to everyone. Everyone in Washington and the greater area is welcome. Really, everyone in the nation, considering the Kennedy Center in our nation's capital is the crown jewel of performing arts venues. And much of it has to do with the president of the Kennedy Center and friend of the program, Ambassador Ric Grenell. Ambassador, thanks for joining us, sir.
Well, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
We've been to the Kennedy Center a couple of times already under your stewardship, and there is a palpable change in the mood there. I got to be honest. It's just a happy place to be, and the employees all seem pretty into it. They're really engaging. Everyone from the people at the bar to the ticket takers and the box office staff, they seem thrilled with the new life you've breathed into the venue.
Well, I have to say, Larry, I'm glad that you noticed that because truly our staff right now is ecstatic. From the ushers to security to people in development, they were dying for a change. They knew that the place was really having a slow death, and they didn't want to see it. They needed to have a different focus on programming that wasn't so far left. What we do know about arts institutions across the country is that they're all struggling with putting people in seats. And I believe it's because arts institutions have gone so far crazy left with their programming, they're not giving the people what they want. And we see this with corporations. Yeah. Corporations were on the sidelines, Larry, because they didn't want to give to things that were so controversial. There are enough big, huge, beautiful shows, traditional shows, that can bring in people. You know, I could just give you the example of Les Mis, The Sound of Music, Stuttgart Ballet. We've just announced that we're doing the Vienna Philharmonic is coming back to Washington, D.C. It's been decades.
Wow.
We are doing the big things that people want to see. And I'll tell you from last Saturday night when we did the big Kennedy Center Gala in honor of the National Symphony, 50% of the people that showed up for the gala had never been giving to the Kennedy Center, had never been to a gala. We are seeing
that's huge.
A huge change because people are recognizing that they want to be a part of something that is common sense programming.
Well, and I can tell you, I'm your prime audience. I love the performing arts. I used to work in the performing arts, and I didn't feel welcome at the Kennedy Center. I didn't feel like the programming was for me. They had another audience member in mind. I'd love to explore the Stuttgart. I'm sorry, Julie, I just want to get a Stuttgart question in, and then you can
just want to say it.
But
Stuttgart.
I love Stuttgart. I can't believe it's been since '92 since the Stuttgart Ballet is one of the top, if not the top, ballet companies on the planet, and it's taken that long to. Did you help bring them here partly because you knew people because you were ambassador to Germany? How did you pull this off?
Yeah.
Well, look, Stuttgart. Let me just say this: as what I do know about being the ambassador to Germany is that we have literally tens of thousands, maybe a million, more than a million, of Americans that have been born in Germany because their parents served in Germany. And here in Washington, D.C., we have so many people that have cycled through Germany to do tours. A lot of kids have been born in the Bavarian area. Stuttgart is such a fun, iconic German city that I knew that Washington, D.C. crowd has fond memories, and they've probably seen the Stuttgart Ballet in Stuttgart, Germany. And so we wanted to bring them here because it just feels like such a connection to Washington, D.C. and our military community.
Well, Rick, as a mom, I really want to thank you for bringing some of these beautiful elements to the Kennedy Center. I feel like for so long, the Kennedy Center, it's like modern day Netflix. You never know what you're going to get. So I didn't really want my kids to go there. I really, it took deep research and often I just wasn't interested in that. How have you seen more kids, more families going to the Kennedy Center?
Oh, it's such a great question, Julie. It is very true. I will tell you, Usha Vance is very supportive of the Kennedy Center. She's on our board. She really wants to be helpful. And she has made great suggestions about kids programming. She wants her kids to be able to come and just experience it, even to the point of saying, we need to be welcoming when kids who can't sit in seats want to get into the aisles, want to move around. They're not going to sit for 2 hours or an hour and a half and watch something without wanting to participate. And so we're really welcoming of that. I'll tell you what you should do, and I'm happy if I'm allowed to give you tickets to this. The National Symphony Orchestra is doing the music from 23 Marvel comic movies. It is going to be so fun for kids to come because they're going to recognize all of the Marvel comic movies.
Oh, that's amazing.
So you should bring the kids. It's going to be, it starts October 23rd. We also have Aida starting, Larry, on October 23rd. Yeah. So don't forget to
Aida's great.
To come see Aida. It's an amazing show.
So Ambassador Grenell, you're offering free tickets to Julie and her family for the National Symphony Orchestra. What I just heard.
Yeah, you call me later.
I like
Larry.
the NSO too. And just I sat through malls.
Your kids are grown. Your kids are already
Larry.
out of the house, Larry.
Fine.
Thank you,
Fine. All right, Rick, I got to ask you, take off your Kennedy Center hat for a second. I got to throw a political question at you because you're always gold with a soundbite. I'll give you your choice. You want to talk about Comey or Katie Porter?
Oh, well, I have to talk about Katie Porter because you people on the left, on the East Coast, never talk about California.
Katie Porter. So Rick is a fellow, I used to live in California. He's a California Republican. He's trying to save that state. In fact, Ambassador Grenell's name is still being mentioned as a potential late entry into the governor's race in California. What do you is that the Katie Porter that you've known and loved that you saw in this viral interview that she gave? This is amazing.
I hope every single person in California watches this because let me just say this. Katie Porter is not cut out to be the governor of California. I'm sorry. We have had some amazing thinkers. We've had big personalities. We've had people that try to have visions. Now, I would even say Gavin has a vision that is terrible, but at least he went out there and tried to say, this is where we're going. We have a plan. Katie Porter is literally, she's just dour. She's negative. she looks really like somebody who's not a leader. And I
Right.
just have to say that I don't believe Californians are going to elect Katie Porter, because when you see this interview, she's defensive. She doesn't have a vision. She's literally just petty.
Oh,
and we can't have that as the governor of California.
Right.
No,
right.
it's the end of her. There's no chance. But Rick, you're right about all those things. She's also the front runner in the race right now, given all of that. So there is a window here. Have you ruled out running for governor?
Well, look, let me just say this, is that the reason that she is the front runner. No, let me just say this. I'm not dodging. The reason that she is the front runner is because we literally have such a poor field of Democrats that are running. And so when you combine the fires and the collapse of confidence that Californians have in their government, we went through COVID and we were like the worst state for COVID. Businesses are leaving. It's a real crisis in California. And I think there's a whole bunch of people that are sitting on the sidelines that are rethinking, look, if Katie Porter is the lead person, then Larry, you could move back and run, because she's just not gonna be the governor of the great state of California. Just watch the interview and then you decide.
I'll be honest with you. Given all the skeletons in my closet, California may be the only place I could still run, and that says more about California than anything else. Ric Grenell, thank you, Ambassador. Great talking with you as always. Thank you
Rick.
for being such a promoter of the performing arts and the great Kennedy Center, and good luck with the Stuttgart tonight.
Thank you. All the best.
Break a leg. Do you say break a leg to ballet? That's a wrap, Julie. Thank you for being here again. Coming up now, it's Christopher Plant. Chris, good morning.
Why, good morning to you. Good morning to everyone. I know we're all looking forward to the James Comey arraignment this morning, aren't we?
Yes, 10 a.m. I popped my popcorn.
If I had the morning free, I might head over there in my car just to see what happens. The Senate, the Republicans in the Senate, looking to vote to open the government again today. Time number 6, effort number 6. And there have been 5 swings and 5 misses because the Democrats keep voting to shut the government down. And then I saw on the news that it's the Republicans' fault. What's up with that anyway? Isn't that amazing?